Part 2. Lord Ramiel stared at the horizon in disbelief. Not but a few hours ago the sky had been bright, and the fields nothing but serene pastures of golden wheat oscillating ever so peacefully in the autumn breeze. Now there was a festering darkness brewing in the sky, the kind that sent a shiver down the spine, and the land was overrun with an army the likes of which he had never seen before. There, just on the outskirts of Wyverndale, stood an invading force. Clad head to toe in black armour, the warriors somehow sparkled like obsidian in what few rays of sunlight still pierced through the thickening clouds. Waving dark flags with a sigil the warden did not recognize, they brought with them engines of war, sturdy catapults pushed by dozens of warriors, some of which even sat atop sickly horses. Without warning or cause, and with nothing but pure malice, they were already unleashing a flaming arsenal upon the city. But what was perhaps most unsettling were the giants sprinkled throughout the invading forces, armoured in thick iron and black leather. With every one of the giants' unified stomps, the ground heaved and robust stone came undone. Ramiel had only heard old stories of the giants. If he was being honest, he had come to think they were nothing but fairy tales meant to frighten young children. But here they were, defying belief, and he was the one frightened. It was as if this army had appeared out of nowhere, but the how, whether it was dark sorcery at work or the intervention of gods themselves, did not matter. The only thing that mattered was keeping the city safe. Ramiel let the fear pass, a fleeting moment that dissipated with the quickening wind, and he reached for the horn of cinders. There wasn't a person in Wyverndale who didn't hear the bellow of the enchanted instrument. As they ran and shouted, as they dodged burning debris and despaired, the townsfolk heard the deafening hum. Some had heard it before, but for the young, those who had never known war, this was their first time hearing the horn of cinders, and they felt it deep in their bones. For most, the warning meant to find shelter, but for the warriors of the citadel, Ramiel's legion, it meant taking up arms. Knight, samurai, Viking, and Wu Lin heroes were meant to prepare for battle, but the sight of the giants stopped them dead in their tracks. The fear that Ramiel felt, his entire legion shared, and suddenly they weren't too sure this was a battle they could win. Some took a few steps back, their fate an uncertainty. Others started to flee, a pure instinct of flight taking over. Ramiel had already made his way to the city's main gate, and there he stood, alone, facing an approaching army he could never hope to defeat. For a moment, he wondered where his legion was, and what could possibly be taking so long for them to join him. That is, until the cruel realization came that maybe they wouldn't come. Anger began to bubble in his heart, but only for a second. Even he knew the battle was hopeless. All that was left for him was despair. Then came the screeches, echoing from the mountains. In his haste, in his desperation, the warden had momentarily forgotten, but now he was reminded. The great wyvern had answered his call for help, forever upholding its end of the bargain struck this very day a long, long time ago. They were coming, a nightmare in scales. The sound of rushing footsteps stormed behind him. His warriors had overcome their fear. They had remembered who they were, and what it was they were fighting for. Each had proven themselves in his trials, and they were all here, standing with him and chanting, upholding the oath they had taken. The first warden didn't join in the melody of war, but he did something he hadn't done in years. He cracked a smile. Sword firmly in his grasp, Ramiel ran onto the battlefield. For Wyverndale, for hope and unity, for honor